So something I thought and said at the start of the season, upon finding out that Terence Jugamanja would be leaving Orlando Pirates, was that I said I was worried where the goals were going to come from. And to some, that was silly. They thought it was a strange statement for me to make, as you know, last season's top goal scorer with 15 goals was still going to be at the club. Monnapule Saleng was not leaving, and so what the hell was I talking about? And to which my response to that was that, you know, I don't think that Monnapule Saleng is going to score, 15 goals again. I don't think he's going to get to double figures, let alone be the player of the season or have another good season. And the reason for that is simply because I think that, everyone knows about Saleng. We know about Saleng, and everyone else does. Everyone knows about his threat. Everyone is going to focus his attention on him in this season. So, and for that particular reason, actually, counterintuitively, is the reason why I think Saleng should be playing for us than against it. I actually want to use that reason and other reasons to make a case for why Saleng should actually be playing for us than against us. Because I know it sounds like the fact that he'll be marked and all of that is the reason, is actually, disqualifying my point that he should be playing. It's disqualifying my case. But I actually think it's actually building a case for me. The fact that everyone is going to mark him, everyone is going to stop him, and he's not going to score the goals. So why would you say he should be playing for money, right? And the reason for that is that I think, with the extra attention on him, he just frees up people and spaces. So he's going to drag the centre back. The centre back is going to be thinking about, covering his left back. The left winger is going to be dragged back and doing more work defensively than he will be doing going forward. And he's also going to drag the centre midfielder to come and, support the left back as well. When Saleng decides to drift inside, the centre midfielder is thinking about stopping him. And because of that, that frees up more people. Football is a team sport. As much as you've got these players that have great seasons like last season in the case of Saleng. But at the end of the day is that you want the whole thing to be working, right? So if we can get Saleng to free up people, it means that, the threat of Maswanganyi is not muted. The threat of other people in other positions is not muted because they can't focus, attention is going to have to be divided whether you like it or not. It's either you're going to leave Saleng to 1v1s, of which he thrives in, or you're going to, spend some attention in trying to back up your left back, which then divides your attention where you can't fully attend to Maswanganyi, or you can't fully attend to Lepasa or Mahopa or Mufukeng or whoever else in other places on the pitch. And so I think that works in the favor, and I think that's the first case that I want to make for Saleng to be back in the starting 11 for this Soweto Derby and other games for that matter going forward. But the second reason is that the left back of Kaizer Chiefs is Sifiso Hlanti. I think Sifiso Hlanti is not so much a defensive left back than he is a fouling left back. I think, this game is just set up to play Saleng versus Sifiso Hlanti. He's someone that is very bookable. He doesn't hesitate to kick people. And I think, I am tempted to think that with Kimvuidi's sort of liking to dwell on the ball kind of thing, it will attract Hlanti. But I think more so Saleng running behind him, because the other thing is Hlanti likes to go forward, and he's always late at, well, not always, but sometimes late at tracking back. So firstly, that's going to get him thinking about fouling Saleng. He's just that kind of player, Hlanti. If you beat him at something, you want to kick you, that kind of thing. The other thing is that, sort of piggybacking off of my first point, is that it's going to force the centre back, whom, if you guys know, I've played at centre back at some point in my sort of amateur career. And the last thing you want to do as a centre back is to be dragged out there, to be chasing people like Saleng out there, because, you want to stay compact, you want to defend your box. That's the first instinct as a centre back. But if you've got people like Hlanti going that way and coming back late, then, as Ngobo or whoever's going to be playing in centre back for Kaizer Chiefs, is that now you've got to go to that side and try and chase Saleng. And it just, again, sort of supporting my first point, it leaves the striker with a 1v1. He can dodge sort of easily. And it makes space for oncoming runners. Those third man runs, those late runs into the box will find people in space if the centre back is dragged everywhere, right? So that's the other thing. That's the reason why I just think that, you know, versus Kaizer Chiefs, particularly versus Fiso Hlanti, I think this game is just set up for Monnapule Saleng. The other thing that I want to say is that I just think that he makes us an overall dynamic side. I think having, Monnapule Saleng, it just makes the whole team a more dynamic, more quick side, a more mobile side. Whether we like it or not, defenders just hate dealing with that sort of player. Defenders will prefer to deal with, Mufugeng or Maswanganyi or Dlamini or Kapinga or all the, the neat players that we have that look so good on the ball. But they'll prefer defenders to deal with those players because they do their work in front of the defenders than in behind. And I mean, even with the strikers, like Mahopa and all of those guys, defenders will prefer those less mobile kind of players than someone who threatens us in behind. Let's be honest, whatever you might say about Saleng, whatever you might say about Klose Kholela, whatever you might say about Saile, whatever you might say about Dupree, at the end of the day, defenders, they're a nightmare for defenders, those kind of players. And if you ask defenders who they'd rather deal with, if you go and ask Mutobi Mvala who he'd rather deal with between, Mufugeng and Saleng, I bet you he's going to rather deal with Mufugeng than Saleng. And this is not like to do with age, or rather maybe let me say who he'd rather deal with between Maswanganyi and Saleng. I bet he'd say, you know what, Maswanganyi is a very tricky customer. He finds these pockets of spaces and whatnot, but I'd rather deal with him than to deal with Saleng dragging me the other way the whole time. Me having to step back just being conservative and thinking about defending the whole time, making sure he's not got that space. I think whatever you say about these players that I named, the Duprees, the Sailers and the Salengs, they are a nightmare for defenders to deal with, and defenders will probably say that more than us fans. But having said that, though, I just want to dispel a few misconceptions that people have about Saleng. I mean, there's just this misconception that goes around that he's just about his speed and sort of his set piece ability, his kicking ability, which is the other thing that I think we're missing, by the way. Hoto's been doing great in that regard, if I may just give him his flowers, even though it's past Valentine's by almost a month now. Monnapule Saleng is another one who's got a sweet left foot when it comes to those dead ball situations. Think about all the goals that Terence Chukwamanja scored last season. They were coming from Saleng's foot. Saleng's left foot to the head of Chukwamanja a lot of the time, or Erasmus or whoever. That's the other thing that we miss. But I just think that he's been limited to that kind of player, Saleng, where everyone just thinks, oh, he's good with set pieces and he's quick, and that's it. And I think that's false. I think that's an uneducated opinion. I think it lacks a bit of context. It lacks a bit of actually watching the player for 90 minutes. I think it's an opinion that's taken from the media, from sort of people that analyze football and that kind of thing, and I think it's really uneducated, with all due respect to people doing what I do and putting their opinions out there. But I've just been seeing this opinion about Saleng just being a quick player who's just good on the dead ball. I think he's got a lot to offer. Well, firstly, the game has got many phases. It's got many facets to it. He's good with his defensive share. That's the other thing that I like to praise Saleng about, is that it's absolutely gold dust to have someone who was scoring so much goals for us and providing so much assists for us, and yet he's the first person, I bet, if you ask, okay, who's going to chase the opposition for us first? Saleng puts up his hand. He's always there, available, just always working hard, determined to win that ball back, hurrying, the defenders as they try and build out from the back. And, that's just one aspect of his game. The other is that he also goes that way. He goes and he works for his right back. He backs up his right back, which is, again, absolute gold dust to have an offensive player willing to do that sort of thing. But the other thing is that in Pirates interplays, and more especially in the build-up, when we're still trying to get out in that initial phase of build-up from the back, you will see him doing one touch, two touch, moving out the way, and then finding space, sometimes coming infield, touching it, moving, going to, the next bit of space that he thinks he can sort of be a threat in. And that's just the other thing that I think people are just naive in not realizing, with all due respect. And yeah, there's also just the aspect of sort of his movement. I think he does make, unselfish runs a lot. People don't see that kind of thing. I also don't see that kind of thing until someone points it out or it just sticks out. But he does make, unselfish runs. And then there's also that aspect of him being good on his left foot. He's just got a deadly strike and that sort of thing. So I just think that people have limited Saleng to this chicken that just runs and has got nothing else to offer. And I think that's a very uneducated opinion, and sort of something I touched on, maybe just to expand on it. I think someone like Saleng does force the opposition to play a further yards back than they would, step up and sort of play at the center or what have you. He just forces the opposition to be thinking about, okay, let's step two steps back, which is good for us because then, the opposition being further away from our goal is always a good thing, right? And you've just got to guard for that counter attack. But otherwise it's always just a good thing to have, the opposition thinking about defending than they are about attacking. And all of that said, I realize that these opinions are assuming that the coach is not playing him and it's purely for footballing reasons. And I mean, I might be a bit naive, but not too much. I do know that in football, it's not just purely footballing reasons that keep a player out of the starting 11. And I do suspect that it might be that, because I really think that, whatever you might say about Jose Rivero, about his footballing brain, and it's always just interesting that as fans, we always think that we've got better ideas than the coach. This is not to say that we can't spot or identify where he's making a mistake. But sometimes, we've just got to humbly realize that or recognize that, Jose Rivero is the head coach of Orlando Pirates because you and I don't have the brain that he has when it comes to football. Otherwise, you and I would be the head coach of Orlando Pirates or something else, right? So, I mean, this is what forces me to kind of dig deep and think about, is it possible that Jose Rivero doesn't know that, Saleng should be playing for Orlando Pirates? Because I looked at that Sundowns game and I'm like, he brought him back for obvious reasons. Saleng was going to be a threat for us than anybody else on that right wing in most matches, if not all of them, but especially even in that Sundowns game. And it just made sense that the head coach brought him back into the starting 11. And so when I kind of dig deep and I try to force myself to think about what could be possible reasons that Saleng is not in that starting 11, and I just go to this place where I think it probably isn't for footballing reasons. It could be something about, well, firstly, which is unlikely, to sort of put that out there. I think it's unlikely, but could it be disciplinary issues? I don't see Saleng as the kind of player that causes trouble, his behavior and that kind of thing. I mean, he's never in the media. A lot of the Pirates players are not in the media to give them credit, but Saleng more so is just not the kind of guy who strikes me as, he missed training or this or that, or he's just, not willing to work for the coach. He's not training well, and that sort of thing. So it could be that, but I just think that's highly unlikely. With my sort of perspective of Saleng based on what I see in the media and what Pirates curate for us to see, Pirates TV, shout out. So I mean, it's unlikely that that's the thing, but it could be that, who knows? It could be that he's dealing with something personal in his life. I mean, that's also another thing, but the fact that he's available in the match squad, again, makes me dispel that reason. But then there's this third reason, which honestly is, we hear it going about that the head coach of Orlando Pirates might not have the full say about, the starting 11 of Orlando Pirates, of which if that's the reason, really, it's unprofessional. That it's really disappointing to be hearing stuff like that. I mean, we've heard it a lot now, and I mean, there's been really controversial things that we've seen in the media of Happy Jele sort of taking instructions from the stands to the pitch to the head coach. I think at the time it might have been Josef Tinbauer, or maybe it was the spell of Fadlu Davids and Mandla Ngegazi as the co sort of coaches. But we've seen that kind of thing where it has caused people to confirm the rumors that the head coach of Orlando Pirates is not someone who has a full say on matters regarding football and match day, right? So there's people that intervene and contractual issues that intervene with who he can play and stuff like that. And speaking about contractual issues, that's what I've been thinking, that could it be that, because we rarely ever know about Pirates well, we do sometimes when they want, but there's a lot of secrecy around contracts and contract extensions and terms and figures and stuff like that. Could it be that Monnapule Saleng was offered a better contract last season, which sort of had more demands on him in terms of performances for more money? And you obviously started this season with much fewer goals than he started last season, and his impact in terms of numbers has been far less than it was last season. So could it be that he's sort of getting punished by his own contract? So he's suffering from the terms of his own contract, the expectations that are set on him by the remuneration that he receives for that, which sets an expectation for him to deliver. So could it be that that's the reason? It could be, right? It could be that. And the final reason, and all of these I think are just like sort of, speculations that we can think about, but there's no confirming these things unless Pirates makes a statement to tell us, of which even when they make a statement, some of us sometimes doubt the stuff that's in the statement. But that's a topic for another day, around the media of Pirates and PR and that kind of thing. But there was a lot of talk around Saleng had a possible move in the mid-season transfer window. There was talks around the few clubs that are interested in him and sort of thing. And we know from the past, just pulling off of the Teko Morise, maybe even Teminkosi Lodge case, we know that there's been times when the player has kind of knocked at the door of the chairman, Dr. Ivan Kosa, and requested to move. Maybe not the player, but his representatives, his agency will have maybe requested for the player to be released off of his duties to seek greener pastures elsewhere, right? And I mean, when that doesn't come off, or when that is not pulled off, it can tarnish the reputation and it can destroy the relationship between the club, his representatives, and the player, right? And so I'm just sort of thinking that could it be that, with all of the rumors around Saleng was rumored to be moving abroad, maybe the representatives and might have been misinformed to thinking that it was going to happen. And then it just didn't happen in the last minute, and maybe the player had now sort of burnt bridges with the club. This is all speculations. I'd really love to hear what you guys think, but to sort of wrap it, I think I've provided enough evidence. If you guys think I'm still crazy, Saleng should be sitting on the bench, and Kimvidi, I mean, the last reason is that he's just the best right wing we have in the club. I mean, we don't have another one except maybe Otladisa, who hasn't played, and Vincent Pule, who also I might put on the spotlight like I am Saleng right now as to why he's not playing, kind of thing, speculation around why he's not playing, why he seems to be out of favor with the coach and all of that. But we've got Pule who can play there. We've got Otladisa who can play there as well. But we've got Saleng who should be playing there, but we are playing Kimvidi who should be playing in the center. So, I mean, let me leave it here. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And yeah, thank you for watching. Up the Mighty Bucks. Cheers. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video from Talking Buccaneers. If you did, please hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all our future content.